Doug, first question in the back center.
Hey Nick, Doug Smith, the Toronto Star. The other day you talked about your teams your team needs to score more to get in these games, and do you have to change the way you play, like call more sets for that to happen, or how do you generate that kind of situation given the way you normally play?
Yeah, I mean we're trying to play as normally as we can, Doug. I think it's always a game of rhythm a little bit, and you got to watch what's happening. You know, we've got, as you know, we talk a lot about our shot spectrum, the shots we're trying to get. You know, we got to get a certain amount of paint touches. We got to get the ball side to side. You know, those are things you just got to keep an eye on. I think we just had some lulls in those three areas in Game 2.
Scott here in the front.
Scott Osler, San Francisco Chronicle. Nick, right here. You coach in the D League or G League, whatever it was called then. Could you give us a sense of what that's like coaching there, and also how that has become a springboard, a legitimate springboard for this league? Because like the Warriors have a couple guys that.
Yeah. You know, the biggest thing I always say is getting the head coaching experience. And the interesting thing about the G League is that, you know, one of the things about being a head coach is you got to, you know, get up in front of the team and run the team, right? But you're trying to always, as a coach, develop chemistry, define roles, get guys to play their butts off. And in the D League, you got so much change, or, you know, in personnel, guys coming and going, that you end up having to do that probably much more than you would at this level or most levels, you know, where you got your team kind of from start to finish. And you can, once you get those roles developed or some chemistry built, that kind of goes to the end of the year, but you're kind of always getting that disrupted in the D League. So I thought it's a good chance to work at those skills maybe more than you would any place else in the world. And the other thing I always say, everybody that's been in the D League's a little better off for it. It's a really great place and really great people, and players just, man, they play hard, and really enjoyed my time there.
Tim in the back row.
Nick, all the way in the back. Tim Reynolds with the AP. I'm sure you heard that Kawhi filed suit against Nike yesterday, and I know their disagreement has gone on for a while, obviously. Speaking broadly, not about that specifically, but broadly, how have you guys learned to manage noise? I mean, you've had it from day one, you know, is he staying, is he going, all those things, and all the other things that go on from day one to a finals Game 3. How has this team learned to manage noise and things of that nature when it just seems like it never stops these days?
Well, you know, first of all, I learn a lot of things when I come to these press conferences. You guys tell me a lot of things. It's just a lot of times I don't know about much of the noise till somebody asks me a question about it. A lot of times. So again, it's to me, it's like part of the job. Like I love, like most people, I love listening to all the shows and the podcasts and the whatever, and I haven't listened to a one since the playoffs have started, and I miss it. You know what I mean? But it's part of the job to not, you know, either way. If they're killing you, you know, you're going to get pissed at somebody. And if they're telling you how great you are, then you're going to have another wrong opinion of yourself, right? So you just, I think the players do the same for the most part. There's enough energy that's needed, and concentration and focus in executing these game plans and playing your heart out and resting and recuperating and traveling and all the things. So I think there's enough to focus on that occupies us, and we just got to try to stay a little bit out of some of that stuff. And like I keep saying as well, like with all the stuff, you know, I've got a lot of questions about Drake and blah blah blah. You don't even really notice that most of that stuff's going on. You know, a lot of that's after the game, before the game, between the games, etc. But once the ball goes up, feels like I'm coaching in Des Moines, Iowa again, you know?
Second row on your right.
Yeah, Nick, Jeff Ferrata with the Bay Area News Group. Can you talk about your impressions of what Demarcus Cousins was able to do for them in Game 2, and if there was anything in particular that you thought, you were well impressed with?
Yeah, I mean, he obviously came out with a certain game plan against Gasol, right? The first possession of the game, he went out and damn near tackled him, right? And then the ball went out of bounds, and he clobbered him again on the way out of bounds. So he was obviously going to go out there and try to physically intimidate him. But he also, he did the same. He passed the ball pretty well. He was a big presence in there. I thought he hit a big three. We didn't close out to him quite hard enough. We were there, but wasn't good enough, and he made it. Kind of kept things ticking over. I think when we were up maybe 10, and he cut it to 7 or something like that in the first half. But no, he played great, and I figured he's an all-star player. He's got tons of talent. He's a big body. Figured as the series goes on and he gets the timing back and the thing, he'll keep playing better.
Michael towards the back right.
Nick, Michael Grange from Sportsnet. Can you just maybe walk us through your decision to go box and one with Fred against Steph at the end of the fourth quarter or the last half of the fourth quarter, and maybe some of your thinking about being willing to try kind of unusual things in a very, in the spotlight?
Well, we were having trouble getting our defense set up. We were having trouble at the basket a little bit, and we were having trouble with the rhythm of the game there. And usually, you use like any zone, so it's a type of zone. That's what you're using zone for a lot. You and I have talked about this before. We played some zone during the regular season, and you usually do it to when the game's funky and there's a bad rhythm, and maybe you can change it, right? Just by slowing them down or stopping some of their cutting or whatever. And it seemed to protect the rim better for us and stop some of their cutting. And it was good. I don't know. I was just trying to come up with something to stop them.
I think Steve Kerr was here and saying he'd never seen it in the NBA before. And, he said someone threw one at him when he was in grade 9. So he was very proud about that.
Yeah, I know everybody's making fun of me for it, right?
But that's sort of the point. I'm sure you were probably subject to a box of one in Carroll one time, I'm sure.
No, I was never that kind of player, but
right.
go on.
But the point is like your team hadn't practiced that, I'm guessing. And, did you just come up with it on the spur of the moment, like at a timeout, and then again to have the faith to roll something out there that in that circumstance?
Well, in all those things, first of all, your players have to have some faith in it, right? And I got a sense from them that they were good with it. In the timeout, I was like, hey, I'm thinking about going box and one. What do you guys think? And they were like, well, what does that look like? And I drew the box up and who would be where. Not. They just wanted, and they kind of liked the looks of, Mark and Kawhi being down and, Kyle up and Fred chasing, and they were and Kyle was kind of the one that said, yeah, man, that'll work. Let's go. And that kind of lets you, I don't know, let you share the responsibility a little bit, and we're all on the same page, and we leave the huddle, and we're all good with it. So that helps.
Over here.
Trista Crick, USA Today. Coach, you and I spoke after Game 1 just about plans to still run the offense through Mark. Obviously, Coach Kerr wanted to stop you from doing that. What specifically did inserting Boogie into the lineup do to sort of neutralize Mark?
Well, I think again, like I mentioned, they tried to get up and rough him up and play him, with some pressure out there on the perimeter. Mark had some really good looks too. I mean, it wasn't like he had some in the quarter from hell, the third quarter that we had there. He had like 3 or 4 of the really good looks there. One from about 8 feet, one from about 10 feet, and then one was a wide open 3. So. He did do a good job though, pressuring him, and Mark will be the first one to say that he didn't have as good a game as he would have liked to have.
So in game 3, is it sort of make or miss, keep things the same, or is there an adjustment to be made in your view?
There might be an adjustment to make, yeah.
Last question in the fourth row.
Nick, Greg Logan of Newsday. There's been a lot of talk about the Warriors' injury situation, and yet we've seen that there have been times when Kawhi was compromised. How would you characterize his physical status right now and his ability to take over some of these games?
He's good. right? I kind of keep saying I think he's good. Really knows his body. I think he's got a lot of minutes in him. 40 plus a night. And I think he's gonna get his cracks at the shots.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Thank you.